Pronounced, defined, used in lexical dispatch.
Baneful, adjective, banefully, evil, destructive, pernicious, pestilent, baleful, sinister. Toxic, adjective, toxically, toxicity, containing poison, harmful, unpleasant and damaging, very likely to yield a large loss. Adam's life does not sink into a sterile and, in the end, baneful encounter with himself. Most of the baneful effects of prolonged sitting can be mitigated if, every 20 minutes to an hour, you stand up, stretch, and move around. These are apparently even more morally corrupt and baneful than the plague of dark superheroes. The problem is that Europe appears to have a particularly baneful historical military culture. His sight is baneful to my repose. His society is death to my future tranquility. Seduction may be baneful, even tragic, but the seducer at his work is essentially comic. Serve to counteract the baneful influence of ardent spirits on the health and morals of our fellow citizens. The first president spent much of his famous farewell address warning his countrymen against the baneful spirit of party. I spend hours lapsing from moment to moment into a drowsiness interlaced with baneful nightmares. It is not difficult to see that a 10 to 15% increase in jet engine fuel efficiency could be the difference between a pleasing profit or a baneful bankruptcy for an airline. Carlyle's fanatical adoption of intuitionalism has told banefully upon his work in sociology. It called Cobb's story banefully effective in its portrayal of unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. For over 40 years, Monsanto routinely dumped toxic waste into West Anniston Creek while producing now-banned industrial coolants called PCBs. Why should any reactor be issued building permits without first providing for the safe, long-term management of its toxic waste? That's a major part of being a physician, learning to use the potentially toxic chemicals we call drugs in a way that helps rather than harms, helping patients learn themselves. I had no idea that my entire home is made out of toxic chemicals that have already invaded my every pore and capillary. Although radiation largely produces toxic effects on tumors from many aspects, we cannot deny the side effects of radiation, which can promote the occurrence and development of cancer. Young children are apt to come into contact with toxic chemical dusts because they typically spend time close to the ground. They wanted the government to buy stock in troubled financial companies instead of just buying their toxic assets. The world desperately needs highly productive energy sources that don't emit toxic pollutants and greenhouse gases. He has always been toxically bound to it in ways that run too deep to really reverse. When the liver is overwhelmed by toxicity, it opens the door to a number of health problems.